DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.
Hey folks, welcome to Doc Talk. We're at Ward Feed Yard where we have Brian Carlton and Kip Lukasiewicz going to be our guests today. We're going to talk about loadout facilities. We're glad you joined us, and we'll be right back after these commercials.
When you spot BRD in your cattle, that's your golden opportunity to target infection and its associated fever with a single dose of Resfo Gold, the industry standard dual therapy. To learn more, talk to your Merck Animal Health rep or your vet and see label at resfogold.com. Animals intended for human consumption must not be slaughtered within 38 days of treatment. This product is not approved for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows.
Hey folks, welcome to Doc Talk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and I'm here at Ward Feed Yard with Cattle Production Manager Brian Carlton and Ward's veterinarian, which you know as Dr. Kip Lukasiewicz, who is a partner of mine in PAC, Production Animal Consultation. We spend a lot of time in feed yards, and it's always a pleasure and a special opportunity to come to Ward Feed Yards. It is, if you ever have a chance to feed cattle somewhere or see a feed yard that I consider to be one of the tops in the world, this is the place. And Brian, you're here every day.
Yes, I mean, exactly. General Manager Chris Burris runs operation. I oversee the cattle production, all the animals coming in, all the animal shipping, the animal health side of it. And I work closely with Dr. Kip on, like today, we're going to talk about facilities, making sure that everything we do is for the purpose of the cattle, making sure that they are treated and they are taken care of, so it's a less stress-free environment.
Yep. And Dr. Kip, you're down here for a few days a month, and
yeah, so usually I come down anywhere from 2 to 3 days a month and spend time at all 3 yards that I go to here at Ward's. They have 3 locations at the South Yard, the North Yard, and the Moles Yard, and all fantastic. I mean, the people down here, as you got to see earlier in our closing meeting today with the crew, is they're all very interactive. They do care. They want to learn. And what I really appreciate with Brian and with Chris is that, you know, just constantly looking at shifting the culture, you know, as far as for training the next person up and looking to make people better, and just encouraging people to, you know, want to move on and get better. And if they can take better jobs after this one, then great. We have the honor of coaching them and teaching them and being a part of that and part of their success. And that's part of our job.
It's huge. And we're here today, we're going to talk about loadout facilities. And so when y'all are looking at a loadout, there's some pretty important keys to what you're trying, of why it's important to have a good loadout, right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing we look at is, you know, the flow of cattle, the safety of our employees, because the biggest thing we want to make sure those guys go home every single night. And then we look at how does it affect us, how does it affect the trucking company that's going to be hauling them, and then also how it affects the customers, you know, because the less the stress, the less the pinpoints and stuff like that, we're going to make the cattle flow, better premiums, and these cattle right now are record highs.
Yeah, better yields, better premiums, better everything. And Dr. Kip, you do a lot of this in different facilities. You know, you kind of build on what Brian was saying there on cattle flow and people safety.
Yeah, so I mean, that's really a trigger point for me, you know, right, is that I want to see people go home, just like what Brian said. We want to see people go home at night and go to their families and be safe. But we have to keep the cattle safe as well. If we keep the cattle safe, people are safe. And now we're starting to look at building new safety alleys and safe walkways and stuff like that, just to improve that part of it for the people, but then also looking at how we encourage voluntary flow of the cattle. I think that is so huge. And that's something that's been so awesome to see once we build the facilities is just how everything flows, and it's smooth.
And Brian, when y'all load out, I mean, you're not loading out 20 head,
No.
30 head. You're taking some big drafts and multiple pins,
I
right?
mean, Monday, for example, we shipped 1,500 head between the 3 locations, and we're talking anywhere from 60 to 200-300 head of a pin. And so just coordination, make sure the trucks are full, make sure the guys are bringing them, also having the water on hand, the pin space, make sure we have everything just rolling together. So
it's awesome. It really is a team effort between the veterinarian and the feed yard management and the crews, and it's about taking care of the cattle and taking care of our people. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more at Ward Feed Yard.
DNA Dialogue is brought to you by Identity Feeder, powered by Neogen.
There's certainly risk for producers because of the financial stake we have in the cattle operations, that we really need to protect our risk, and especially when there's things outside of our control that are happening in the industry, whether that's the general public or beef-centric issues within our industry, things such as black swan events that we talk about. So what can producers do to help minimize those risks is really very much from individual to individual. If you're able to withstand some of that risk and don't feel like you need to protect yourself, that's a risk management strategy in itself, just saying I'm not going to have a risk management strategy. I think though for most people, taking into account that these events that may be out of our control, what am I willing to stand and how much risk do I need to protect? So there are ways to do that. Obviously there's the traditional ways of helping decrease your risk exposure, such as futures. Obviously there's the LRP program now, as well as options like put and take. So I think if you are at risk of financial catastrophe and can't withstand some of those events that are outside of our control, you should really consider those different strategies. More so on the other side is frankly, one way to manage risk is to always have continuous turnover of cattle and marketing windows across more times of the year. So for example, if I'm always marketing my calves as weaned calves, I'm really at the risk of what is the price every time in the fall on my marketing date. Whereas if I market a few dates, maybe I just slowly transition into going from 1 marketing date to 3, hold on to some of the calves, maybe put some extra weight on them, I spread out my marketing windows. That's one way to also manage risk. If you're a feeder, of course, the other way is you're continuously marketing cattle and continuously refilling those pens. Again, that's a marketing strategy that minimizes risk across different times.
Come on!
Angus GS powered by Neogen is the highest industry standard in genomic testing for your whole herd. Contact the American Angus Association to test today.
Bovolus Nasalgen 3 offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, PI3, and BRSV. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose Bovolus Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only intranasal that protects against viral and bacterial pneumonia. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and I'm here with Brian Carlton, who is the cattle production manager for Ward Feed Yards, and Dr. Kip Lukasiewicz, who is the veterinarian here at Ward, and he is also a veterinarian in PAC, Production Animal Consultation. We're down here on location, and you might hear a little rattle, but that's because we're in the processing barn, and that's okay. When we are talking about, y'all are embarking on a new project, right, with your loadout?
I mean, right now our loadout's outside of this barn, which interferes with our processing, and also it's the same as our receiving area. So by doing this new facility, we're going to make a standalone shipping area. We'll be able to receive here close to the processing barn, and then we'll have 2 different areas we'll be able to keep separate, so the flow of traffic and everybody won't be on top of each other like that.
And what are some of the things that you're looking to improve?
I mean, the biggest thing the top 2 is safety, and then the flow of cattle and the handling of the stress of them. And then the third, I think, is just being able to hold the amount of cattle. We have bigger pens at this location, so the biggest thing we want to see is we can bring this 200 head. They can be calm, they can have their space, but be able to keep flowing cattle there while they're loading.
Yep.
And so it's just nice and easy, and we have our space where the truckers can load out while we keep weighing up cattle and get them out here.
What are some of the things you're going to change out of this design, the current design, to the new?
Compared to the old.
Yeah.
So some of them, it's going to be at the old facility here, weighing cattle kind of was always a struggle. In terms of, I mean, the facility here, Brian, I think it's been 1970s right in there. And so some of the pinch points that we have in terms of right angles coming out of pins and then loading up into like the alley behind the scale is wider than the scale. And so cattle just don't want to, you know, narrow up and go onto the scale. They have to kind of go up a ramp right when they get to the scale. And so they kind of look at that and they balk. And so we're looking at just how do we improve the voluntary flow? How do we reduce some of those angles and curves that they're having to come out of, just to increase the voluntary flow of cattle. And then adding additionally is just safety walkways and gates.
So tell me about the safety walkways and gates. What do those entail?
So basically the safety walkway is about a 4-foot alley that's just next to the alley in which the cattle are staged. And to enter into there, there's like it's basically 3 posts. There's 2 posts in the fence line that are basically 18-inch on center. And then there's a post directly behind that, those 2 posts, that sits about 18 inches off of the
So you're putting these outside the alley so that your people, Brian, don't have to be in with the cattle to get them
exactly. And we're using the cattle's eye and stuff like that to go past them and bring them back to them voluntary instead of having to put pressure inside the pen. And like we talk about often is, say there's that one that's a little wilder than the other ones and having to get that one, and you know the animal feels pressure, but that way you'll be outside of it, be able to come around it and put pressure from it.
Whenever I see people get hung up, it's not having a place to escape and gates.
Yeah.
What about gates?
So at each exit point or entry point, there's a gate that can be swung. And so if we do have that single animal or 2 animals that just absolutely do not want to flow that day for whatever reason, we at least have the ability to bring a gate with us. So once they're on their way and starting to move that way, we can literally bring the gate with us as we come out of the safety walk alley and into the pen with the animals.
It's perfect. That gives us an opportunity to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about loadout facilities with Dr. Kip and Brian. We're here at Ward Feed Yard. Thanks for joining us.
When it comes to treating BRD, you want a product that you can count on to get the job done at an affordable price. Macrocin by Bimeda delivers on both. A straight shooting, no BS tulathromycin that does what it's supposed to do. End of story. You don't need to take our word for it though. Go to macrocin.com for customer testimonials and head-to-head trial results. For your cattle and your bottom line, choose Macrocin.
In the livestock industry, castration is a common practice to ensure proper herd management. All methods are painful, regardless of the age of the animal. At Solvit, we could not ignore the clear industry need for better castration solutions. So we developed Lido Band, a novel lidocaine-impregnated elastrator, addressing the pain associated with band castration. It provides local anesthesia throughout the castration process. Lido Band, a small device that can make a big difference.
Success in the cattle business hinges on a lot of different people playing their part, from the vet to the cowboy and the nutritionist to the feed truck driver. You rely on them to get their job done right, and so do your cattle. Your expectations for the vaccines you use should be no different. Bimeda's cattle vaccines were developed and are made and sold by men and women in the cattle business. No smoke and mirrors, just real-world protection that you can rely on. Go to BimedaBiologicals.com to learn more.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Brian Carlton and Kip Lukasiewicz. Dr. Kip is the veterinarian here at Ward Feed Yard. He's with Production Animal Consultation, and Brian is the cattle production manager, oversees all cattle operations here at Ward Feed Yard, which if you, again, I'll reiterate because I'm biased, lived in Kansas a long time, but I've been on a lot of feedlots, and it's hard to find somebody that does it better than what y'all do here at Ward. And so just very appreciative. What you guys are called upon so many times to do tours and industry events and really carry the beef industry. So look them up on the web. It's a great group. So let's talk about the project. You're gonna build a receiving facility with loadouts and holding pens and all that. Let's kind of start with in the back with the pens.
I mean, the biggest thing is we're going to have 6 pens, but we're going to be able to ship 12 different truckloads at a time. So we'll be able to have 2 trucks loading, 1 truck loading while the other one's backing up. So it's just going to be flowing so we can keep cattle going. Plus, we'll have a couple holding pens. We'll be able to weigh those cattle and keep feeding them to those pens so the trucks never stop and the cattle keep flowing. And then as soon as we get them off the scale, they'll be back on water. They'll be back on some hay, on some other holding pens and things like that.
Yep.
And when you're designing something like this, Dr. Kip, which you make designs all around the world, what are some of the things you're thinking about on these holding pens?
So on the holding pen, it's just really, one is space. I mean, what's the space requirements? And so typically we're looking at anywhere from 15 to 20 square foot per animal, just in a holding gathering type pen. Our anticipation is they're not going to be there for very long. They're going to go right from there to weighing typically, and then right to their staging alleys, and like in this facility, we'll have six basically slants, but those slants are long enough to have basically they're split in half, and so you'll have 12 truckloads of cattle staged and ready to go. But I always look at water, making sure that there's water access, so that, you know, if it's in the heat of summer and so forth, that we do have water there, that we do have some hay there. I mean, obviously we'll have a surface that would be a concrete surface, something that's easy to clean for biosecurity purposes and all those things, but then also something that we can bed down and it's comfortable not only for the cattle, so we can ship it any time of the year, whether it's snow, rain, mud, whatever, we can have it done, and our people have good footing to do it on, and it's not an issue.
And you talked about the size of the pens being important because now your guys don't have to come in as early to ship, and you can hold more cattle, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we can come in. The facility we have now, though, I mean, it's kind of, we have to weigh, let the trucks load and weigh more, where this one, like Dr. Kip was saying, we're going to be filling from the back with the slants. And then the other thing is having a facility with the lights and being able to, you know, when some days we have to ship at 4 a.m., you know, that's what we're called to do. And so we go and do that. And so it's bright, we can see it, we take away the shadows and stuff. And so that way it's just nice and it's clean, and the guys are good and they're ready to be able to see those cattle, because it's dark in the mornings.
Yep.
So that way they know where they're at, but they're also we go back to the safety that we've discussed. It's just a good environment for everybody.
Yep. And so when you're looking at lights, I mean, you guys have described space for the cattle, walkways for the people for safety, lighting.
So I'll send these drawings to a couple engineers, and these engineering groups, they usually do like traffic studies, and so just looking at overall traffic flow that's going by the facility, you know, from feed trucks to semis and those things. They will look specifically at, like, you know, they'll ask the question, how much lights do you want, or lighting do you want in that facility? And they will then make sure that they find the right lighting for that facility. And so the nice thing with, like on my end, I have really great engineers on the other side of the company, you know, as our company, Dan, that do these drawings and that we get to work with. And they're really fantastic people to do. And I lean on them for that information. They're really fantastic.
Well, we've got the initial part, holding, safety, moving cattle, staging, lighting. When we come back, we'll talk about the crowding facility and the loadouts. Thanks for watching DocTalk.
The cost of an open cow these days is very expensive. It's hard at times to dedicate a half a day or a whole day to leave your practice to go palpate cows. And so alertness test has helped speed the process up of getting preg rates back to the owners. And so free up time for diagnostics or working in your clinic. It also will help generate revenue, not being on site to do the testing.
When a new calf hits the ground, the clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives them their best chance, but if they don't get any, time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. It's simple. You fill it with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or a nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Ask for it by name wherever animal health supplies are sold.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. We're having a great day. We're here at Ward Feed Yard with Cattle Production Manager Brian Carlton and Dr. Kip Lukasiewicz with Production Animal Consultation, where he is the consulting veterinarian, but as we know on the show, he spends an enormous amount of time designing facilities, from packing plants to to ranches to university teaching facilities, to now this project here at y'all's yard. And you know, let's talk a little bit about what kind of crowding facility you're going to put in. What are you going to incorporate?
So we're going to go with the bud tub.
Yep.
On that,
Yep.
and with the slant pins coming to the alleyway to there where it flows nicely.
I make sure, like when we bring the cattle out of those staging alley or staging pins, that when they come up into the bud tub, we'll have, we talked yesterday about, just making sure we have the proper footing in the tub itself. I think that's always important. We just
what are
want
you
to make
going to
sure.
use for footing?
I always recommend there either bedding or using some Animat rubber mats. And there's other companies that make those mats as well. But we try to find the ones that actually hold up for the longest, and some of those mats they withstood the time, as far as wear and time on foot traffic on it. So
we think of the footing as being good for the welfare of the cattle, but it's also a big safety issue.
Oh, it's huge.
Slipping, yes.
So slipping for the cattle and the people.
Yep.
Just making sure that is if truckers are loading or if our people are loading the cattle, just to make sure that everybody has the proper footing, that we prevent slipping as best we can. And then once they actually come into that facility, then into the tub is designed so that it's not a typical, like we've talked about our bud tubs before and how we're a little bit different than the normal tub type facility, if you will. We're looking purely for voluntary flows, so we do not have to sweep the gate if at all possible. We just have to close one gate and allow the cattle to voluntarily come back around, load up into the alley and onto the truck.
And usually, what's your draft size? When we're loading the top and the belly, you're wanting
10 to 14.
Yeah, 14 typically on that top side, and it depends on certain trucks. If they have a top deck that goes all the way to the nose, or if the nose is a separate compartment of its own. So it really depends on the design of the trailer.
Another thing, Brian, it's not always your people loading the.
No, that's the biggest thing. It's in the trucking companies or whoever the packer consults. Contracts with it.
Yeah.
But we have to have an environment for them to be able to use it. And like with this bud tub, like he said, is we won't have to sweep it, but it also has that quick gate where you can slide out of it, so you can get yourself out of the way, and then you can walk around. So it helps with having 1 or 2 people loading compared to having 3 or 4 to swing gates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Our goal there is that at most we want only 2 trucks at the very end having to load the cattle. If the trucking company's loading, once they're loaded, we want them going and get on the road. We don't want to spend any more time on that truck than we absolutely have to for the cattle.
Yep. Now, what are you going to do for the ramps? What kind of?
That's a good question. Yeah. So one of the things that we've kind of studied and looking at in terms of how cattle, this is not going to be kind of a zero entry. The cattle are actually going to have to go up a ramp because just the way the dirt work and that is at that site. But we actually have it so that you go up about a 3-inch step max, and then we have a landing anywhere from 18 to 20 inches on that step. And what I've done there is I've just taken video and I've watched cattle coming down different types of steps and different widths and so forth. And I literally have watched to make sure that the foot is hitting with a full step every time.
Yep.
And so I found that 18 to 20 inch landing, and then at the very top there's a 6-foot landing. So there's quite a bit of landing space there, so one animal can be at the top prior to going onto the truck.
Perfect. So Brian, just kind of wrap up, people and cattle, safety, welfare. It's the name of the game for y'all, isn't it?
It is. I mean, people's our most important asset here, and they take care of our cattle, you know, and we have Dr. Kip that comes and consults with the pet group and helps us out, and we appreciate that. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing we want to make sure we do is we're taking care of our asset, the people, but we're also taking care of the customer's asset as we feed those and their cattle as their assets.
Can't thank you both enough for being on the show. Thank you for watching DocTalk. Remember, if you want to learn more about what we do, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, here with Dr. Kip Lukasiewicz and Brian Carlton from Ward Feed Yard, and I'll see you down the road.
At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.